That's right, you read the title correctly. Ryu is officially in Capcom Cup. Sort of, sort of. I will explain. I'll break it all down. But to celebrate the occasion, because it's a pretty historic moment in competitive Street Fighter history, I thought we'd first take a step back and look at the history of Ryu in competitive Street Fighter in the modern era. Because Ryu has been through a lot of iterations and has seen a lot of eras where he's been relevant, not relevant. He came and he went. And it all really began in the 2009 era, Street Fighter 4 and beyond. That's what I'm deeming the modern era of competitive Street Fighter. That's when we actually had streams and the ability to see what's going on. Street Fighter 4 revolutionized the fighting game community. So Ryu was actually a popular pick in the beginning of Street Fighter 4. In fact, Daigo, the GOAT Umehara, the beast at this time, of course, he won with Ryu in EVO 2009. He won over Justin Wong here, young Justin Wong, young Daigo here, taking the trophy home. And he's the GOAT because Daigo won EVO back-to-back. 2010 EVO, Daigo wins with his Ryu as well, this time over Ricky Ortiz in the grand finals. But moving forward, times change, and Daigo had to change with the times. And in 2011, this is the point where, Daigo might have sold his soul to many people because at EVO 2011, it was Arcade Edition of Street Fighter 4, and Yun was the character to pick, and Daigo went to EVO this time. The two-time back-to-back champion went to EVO with not Ryu, but instead Yun. And, karma might have bitten for this because it gave us this moment here.
This is unprecedented.
All-time classic moment. Punko perfecting Daigo in the winner side of top 8 with his Seth over Daigo's Yun. I think this is the first time Daigo went to loser's bracket in EVO for Street Fighter 4. So it didn't pan out for Daigo that EVO. He ends up not winning it. Fudo ends up taking it all. And since then, we haven't really seen Ryu at the high level in Street Fighter 4 except for at Capcom Cup 2014, Ryan Hart versus Momochi. This is kind of a deep cut. This is when Capcom Cup was still being established. Capcom Cup was a thing in 2013. It was sort of like an invitational event that Sako won that year, but it wasn't really a tour where people qualified for until 2014. So Capcom Cup is kind of building itself up to be this year-long circuit, which is culminating in the Capcom Cup at the end of the season. And this set is legendary. Ryan Hart is going up against Momochi, and Ryan Hart was kind of not really pegged as a favorite to go far in this tournament, but he has an amazing run against Momochi and gets this far into the bracket and nearly wins the set against Momochi, who's been having a fantastic year with his Ken. And look at this round here. Gets the big crumple. Keeps it simple right there, which might cost him. As you can see there, Momochi does the wake-up uppercut. And yeah, as you can tell by the tone of my voice, it starts to fall apart.
Did he get it in time? Did he get it in time? He did! He did! How much damage is this gonna do?
It's not gonna kill. It needs more.
It is gonna kill.
Momochi!
That was like that pixel right there.
Momochi taking it over Reinhardt, and this is the last time we really see Ryu at all in competitive Street Fighter 4 2014. Even then, Reinhardt was pushing it, man, but there was like the theory of the matchup that Ryu actually does pretty good against Ken, because at this time, people are already picking Evil Ryu, man. At this time, Reinhardt's, he uses both Evil Ryu and Ryu, but Evil Ryu is just better footsies, more damage. It's been shown that Evil Ryu is the way, and if not Ryu or Evil Ryu, using Ken. And then Momochi actually goes on to win Capcom Cup that year, and then also win EVO 2015 the year after. So shout out to Reinhardt for getting that deep and nearly taking the set over Momochi. He gets 5th place with Ryu at Capcom Cup 2014. And yeah, like I said, Daigo moved on to greener pastures, or, more red ones. He went on to play Evil Ryu, and he actually had a lot of competitive success towards the end of Street Fighter 4. Again, he actually gets to Capcom Cup Grand Finals before getting second to Yun. It's like karma here. He dropped Ryu for Yun, and look, Yun is back again. Kazunoko actually wins Capcom Cup 2015 Grand Finals over Daigo with Yun to close out the chapter of competitive Street Fighter 4 history. But, never fret. We have new challenges await. Time to rise up to the new challenge, Street Fighter 5. So what did Ryu have in store for Street Fighter 5? Well, another champion actually rose up at this time to take on the mantle of Ryu, and that is, of course, Tokido. Tokido had a really amazing season 1 with Ryu in Street Fighter V. He won CEO 2016, taking the belt right there. He also won Southeast Asia Majors with Ryu as well. And it's not like Ryu is mid-tier at this time. You know, people tend to see Ryu as not a very strong character, but generally in the beginning of most modern Street Fighter games, he's really good. And in the beginning of Street Fighter V, he's really good. He has a lot of abusable techniques. His jump light kick, for some reason, is just not anti-airable. He gets a lot of free jump-ins. His wake-up DP is invincible, and with V-Trigger, his level 1 super is unblockable, so he can do things like wake up DP into level 1 super as a safe on-block wake-up super. So he has a lot of shenanigans in the first season, you know, like throw loops, massive damage. So Ryu in Season 1 of Street Fighter V is very, very strong. And Daigo is also rocking Ryu as well at this time, but both these players then qualify for Capcom Cup, and what happens? Well, they run into players like Dr. Ray. Tokido had a fabulous first season for Street Fighter V, and it was basically him and Infiltration trading first places. But round 1 of Capcom Cup, Dr. Ray, the first player, the guy who put Dominican Republic on the map even prior to Mena RD. Before Mena RD, it was Dr. Ray in multiple Street Fighter titles, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 as well. Dr. Ray beats Tokido 3-1, round 1. And then what happens to Daigo at Capcom Cup? Kenneth Bradley, K-Brad, actually puts Daigo in losers round 1. So both the Ryu mains, the only 2 Ryus in Capcom Cup for Season 1 of Street Fighter V, end up dropping to losers round 1. And then Daigo goes on a run to win 2 more matches before dropping to Fudo. And Tokido actually loses 3-0 to Ada. He goes 0-2 at Capcom Cup Season 1 with Ryu. And since then, you know, the rest is history. Next season, Akuma releases, and, you know, like I said, the rest is history. Tokido moved on to Akuma, wins Evo, goes to play other multiple characters throughout the lifespan of Street Fighter V, and becomes undoubtedly top 3 of all time Street Fighter V. Top 2? Actually, it has to be top 2 between him and like Punk, right? So Tokido was definitely better off for it. And of course, Daigo then goes on to pick up Guile and starts booming his way through tournaments left and right. And Ryu just kind of doesn't become relevant anymore from this point forward. There's really not too many options for the Shoto players unless you want to play, Ken, Akuma. You got to get your Freihair. Or later on, if you're really interested in the Shoto playstyle, you played, of course, Luke, right? At the end game of Street Fighter V, if you wanted to throw fireballs and do a DP, why would you pick Ryu when you could pick the guy who does it all but better? More damage, laser fireball, better DP, better buttons, better everything. Luke in Street Fighter V, he was the best character by far at the end of the game. And if you wanted to play a basic Shoto playstyle, this was the character to do it. And a lot of players ended up picking him up just because of that. So Ryu, just once again, he ends up becoming more and more redundant as the game goes on. He's a very basic Shoto playstyle, which a lot of other characters are modeled and tweaked from. So therefore, oftentimes he doesn't really specialize in anything that other characters end up specializing better than him in the long run. And while the vast majority of competitive players did move on to Ken, or especially Luke, there were a few players who were dedicated at the very end of Street Fighter V to their Ryu craft. Juninho Ross here out of Brazil actually nearly took a set over EndingWalker at Capcom Cup. Look at this punish he goes for here. Match point, Juninho Ross. He gets the parry on the Ed V-Trigger 2 extension, then drops the combo, and EndingWalker slowly claws his way back and takes the set over Juninho Ross. We also had MDZ Jimmy out of Germany representing with Ryu. Unfortunately, didn't have the best showing at Capcom Cup, but he qualified out of Germany with Ryu, so he actually managed to represent solo Ryu in the Capcom Cup. Juninho Ross used a little bit of Luke. So Ryu did have a breath of life at the tail end of Street Fighter V. Coming into Street Fighter VI, though, Luke is on the cover. Look at that. Ryu is no longer even the protagonist of the series, so he had a good run. But it's clear that Capcom is trying to move a little bit away from Ryu and bring in a new generation of players and a new generation of characters to represent these new players. So he's no longer even the main protagonist anymore. So where does that leave our previous poster child Ryu? He ends up being redundant. In fact, if you look at the Capcom Cup qualifiers for Street Fighter VI at this time, we have 9 Lukes in Capcom Cup and 7 Kens and 0 Ryus up to that point. Because if you want to play Shotos, in Street Fighter 6, it's just like Street Fighter 5. You play Luke or you play Ken. There's really no point to playing Ryu in many players' minds because he's simply kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none, where Ken has more rushdown and more explosiveness, and Luke is just all around kind of maybe superior to Ken in a lot of ways. So that said, who is going to pick up the mantle of champion Ryu in Street Fighter 6? And we have an unlikely hero, EndingWalker. EndingWalker, as you might be able to discern from this photo, is an extremely young prodigy in the world of Street Fighter. He's 17 years old now and burst onto the scene when he was about 15, going on 16. And he's definitely an unlikely hero in this scenario because many people would never have pegged him to be the one to bring Ryu to Capcom Cup. In fact, many figured he would just fall off the face of the earth after Street Fighter 6 release because while he was extremely dominant, for many people, he wasn't respected per se, which is strange to hear because if you look back into his Street Fighter 5 dominance, once the 2022 season started, he absolutely dismantled the UK and Ireland scene, as well as all the online European tournaments. So with the World Warrior program, it's 5 tournaments where you earn points to go onto a leaderboard for your region. And if you are in the top 8 of that leaderboard, at the end, if you win the tournament with the top 8 players that qualify through that leaderboard, you go to Capcom Cup. EndingWalker shows up and gets first place in number 1, first place in number 2, first place in number 3, first place in number 4, and first place in number 5. And this is not some fluke. This is not some region without strong competition. He's winning these tournaments over Capcom Cup Evo finalists like Infectious and Capcom and Evo champions like Problem X here. So he's winning over like the legit competition. This isn't any fluke. He's not beating up weak players. He's doing it over the best of the best. And then in the regional finals, of course, he wins the regional finals, goes completely undefeated, and then goes on to Capcom Cup. So in fact, in this time, before he even gets to Capcom Cup, people were maybe saying, oh, he's only carried by online play. He can't perform the same offline. Well, in the very first event we had back to offline, he won that too. UFA is the first event we have coming out of sort of the COVID era. The first time we have international players mingling offline in years at this point. So it's a super exciting event to see. And we have the top level talent from all over the world under one building. And young EndingWalker in his second ever offline event is in grand finals and does this.
You know, that might be stunned. Not quite still alive. Wow!
Of course, walk up EX upper to close out the major, to win his first major event over the best players in the world. And not only that, not does he only win in the most Ed fashion possible, the Giga Chad himself simply gets up and walks away. He sees the trophy, he veers straight by it, and then his beelines straight out of there. He's done, man. That's it. Nothing left to do here. Cook the competition, prove I'm the best, and I'm out of here. So for the people who said he couldn't do it offline, he immediately goes and does exactly that. And in fact, if you look over his results for the year, I mean, look at the number of first places. It's just obscene. He wins every single World Warrior event and all of the online regionals, and that brings him into Capcom Cup, where he has an amazing finish. He ends up getting 5th in the final Capcom Cup for Street Fighter V. To come into the end game of a mature meta like Street Fighter V at the end at this time, 2022, and to be relatively unknown before and to play at this level and to get 5th place, only losing to Mena RD, the champion of this tournament, and Idom, the previous Capcom Cup champion, is just kind of unheard of. And yeah, an actual prodigy. So EndingWalker doing this at 16, almost 17 years old. He's the youngest qualifier for Capcom Cup ever, and by far the highest placing youngest player of all time. And so it's absolutely ridiculous to see. And the thing is, people at this time are still doubting his talents because, okay, sure, he won all the online World Warrior events. Sure, he went to UFA and he won in his first major and beat some of the best players in the world. Sure, he went to Capcom Cup and finished 5th place with a phenomenal performance. But he's using Ed, and to understand, Ed at this time is not a traditional Street Fighter character, especially not one like Ryu. He doesn't rely on basic low forward fireballs and your classic DP sort of fundamental style that people have grown accustomed to over the past 30 years. In fact, while he is beating the best players on the planet, he tends to do it in a fashion that often makes them look stupid. Here's Fudo, one of the best fighting game players, Street Fighter players of all time, period. And yeah, just count with him.
いやでもこれシンプルに強いんですよ。
1, 2, 3.
ゲージも貯めたい。ちょっと待って、ワンツースリーが無限回来るぞ。来るのどうする？大シャツを持ち返す。ワンツースリー。
So that 1, 2, 3, the flicker, yeah, it kind of defines a lot of Ed's moveset, and the way EndingWalker wins is just always so disrespectful. He has to kind of hide his smirk here. You know, he was flown out to Japan to compete here. He's trying to pretend like he's not about to laugh that I just did that to Fudo, legend of the Street Fighter game. So yeah, people just don't respect Ed, even though it's clear to see to anyone with eyeballs that EndingWalker is of this caliber and an actual prodigy in the world of Street Fighter. There's still people who are doubters and say, come Street Fighter 6, this kid is done. There's no way he's going to pick up anything and be able to compete at the same level. He is carried by Ed, and that's that. That's the last we're going to hear about him. And, well, I firmly disagreed with them. You know, it's up to EndingWalker to prove those doubters wrong. So come Street Fighter 6, what does he do? He picks Honda. You know, I'm trying to set up this tale here where he ends up dominating the competition with pure skill and fundamentals in a well-respected style. But the first thing he does is he starts playing with Honda, which is, in my opinion, in Street Fighter 6, the least fundamentals-based character I have ever seen in a fighting game, and that's my personal bias here. But Honda, he's not actually a very strong character in the competitive sense. He's just kind of a nutty character, and he can kind of make also people feel silly. He beats people in ways that are embarrassing, kind of similar to Ed, to be quite honest. You feel kind of dumb when you lose to a Honda player because they have a lot of kind of abusable tactics and cheesy tactics that if you're really not on your toes to counter, you can get caught sleeping and get beat by. He definitely can catch you sleeping. So first international showing for EndingWalker actually ends up going to Red Bull Kumite in South Africa. He goes to the LCQ there. He dominates the competition to qualify for the Red Bull Kumite finals. However, in the grand finals, he does run into one Kakadu, who is using JP at this time. And right now, the world doesn't really know who Kakadu is to the degree we do now, but they quickly find out. So his Honda isn't enough to get the job done over Kakadu, and he ends up being sent home and not qualifying for Red Bull Kumite. Kakadu goes, I believe, to grand finals before losing to Big Bird. And then, the rest is history. Kakadu has become one of the most dominant players in Street Fighter 6 since then. So EndingWalker at that point goes back to the drawing board, and he's still experimenting with multiple characters to see where he can find his groove in Street Fighter 6. And I would say he kind of finds his groove with Ryu. So back to the World Warrior program, once again, fighting for points in that leaderboard to qualify for Capcom Cup. First place, EndingWalker with Ryu, winning over JP, impossible. Ryu beating a JP player, two high-level competent players, that's never happened before, but he actually does it again. World Warrior number 2, EndingWalker with Ryu over Broski's JP. And in fact, it happens again in number 3. EndingWalker here, this time he rocks a little bit of Ken as well, but mostly using Ryu, taking it over Problem X this time. And then come number 4, Broski wins with Aki. So, unfortunately, while he had an amazing streak, winning every one of these World Warrior programs and every one of these World Warrior events, he potentially could have gone 10 for 10. He forgot to register for World Warrior number 4, which allowed Broski, who he gate-kept his JP with Ryu twice, to win, this time with Aki, the new character that he's picked up and gravitated towards and played at a really high level. So the streak comes to an end. He's been winning all these events. He literally forgot to sign up, and that's why he's not in that one. And number 5, he actually played a lot of Ken and ended up getting only 5th place. So he plays with Ryu, he gets 1st, plays with Ken, he gets 5th, huh? That's pretty interesting. But he's shown that he is well adapted to using Ryu in a world of Kens and Lukes. But he also is experimenting with other characters as well. Casually, he can play pretty much any character under the sun, but he's been representing a lot of Ryu in this process. And he's earned his points on the leaderboard. He's comfortably in the number 1 seed. So he is qualifying for the regional finals and will be able to compete there. However, prior to the regional finals, of course, there is the actual CPT qualifying event. So every region gets 2 chances to qualify. There's the CPT qualifier, and then also the regional finals. So the open bracket CPT qualifier, what does EndingWalker prepare to bring to this tournament? Well, he found the groove. DJ. Out of nowhere, EndingWalker picks up DJ. Now, he did play a little bit of DJ at Blink Respawn in the Dominican Republic, so it's not the first time his DJ has been seen, but it's another character he added to his repertoire, to his cast of characters that he uses. And so, actually, he primarily uses DJ in the CPT qualifying event. And in fact, he goes very far and has a really good run. One of the best sets of the whole tournament, I gotta say, is Broski versus EndingWalker. This was such a sick match in the CPT event. Broski using the Aki and EndingWalker using his DJ. Of course, EndingWalker ends up taking this. This is in losers because EndingWalker was actually sent to losers in the winners top 16 by RainPro. RainPro is originally from Hong Kong. He's currently residing in the UK playing Guile. EndingWalker has been the champion of UK, so UK is being invaded right now by the Hong Kong Guile, and he was seeded to play him in top 16, which is crazy because I feel like it was obvious that they were the two strongest players and should play in later on in top 8. But however, this forced EndingWalker to take out Broski 3-2. It was a super close set, super fun set. But EndingWalker is repping the DJ in that one, takes it over Broski. But eventually he claws his way back into grand finals after being sent to the losers by RainPro early on. And what happens in the grand finals? Well, he doesn't use the Ryu against the Guile. I guess he doesn't really like that matchup. It's back to DJ. He ends up actually resetting the bracket, and he plays at such a ferocious speed, and the perfect parries he employs. It's just like, it's clear that he's on another level. But eventually, RainPro gets the download after EndingWalker goes on a run. He ends up having a 3-0 turnaround after EndingWalker goes up the first game in the grand finals reset. So RainPro from Hong Kong takes the qualifying spot from UK. And that means that there's only one other place left for EndingWalker from the UK to actually qualify for Capcom Cup. And we're heading now to the regional finals. So he worked all year to earn points to qualify for this tournament, doing it with primarily Ryu. Now it's time for the 8 players who earn the most points to go to this bracket, compete, and they're actually doing it offline. So they're all going to meet in one location and compete for that spot for Capcom Cup. And what does EndingWalker do? He busts out the Ryu. It seems to be his specialty to use Ryu against specifically Problem X. So in round 1, he was seeded to play against Problem X because Problem X had to barely sneak in to the actual regional finals, takes that game, puts Problem X in the loser's bracket, and moves on. And, of course, he always has these moments, man, where he just bulldogs people. He always finds the best way to make the opponent that he's beating look a little silly. And that seems to be a consistent factor that EndingWalker has across all of his characters. So he moves on through the bracket, and once again, I feel like the set of the tournament is him versus Broski. Broski had a phenomenal season, and his Aki is super awesome to watch. And he uses DJ once again. It was a super close set, nail-biter, final game, final round, but EndingWalker ends up getting the better end of it, and that is the winners finals, which puts Broski into losers, EndingWalker into grand finals on the winner's side. Watch this set. This set is the set of the tournament. It was so sick. It was so close. Kind of a heartbreaker for Broski, but EndingWalker clutched it out with the DJ to go to grand finals. But, he has to stay true to his roots. Come grand finals time, he meets up with Problem X once again. Problem X, who clawed his way through losers to return to get the run back versus EndingWalker in the grand finals. And here's a taste of that action.
Sit down. Where do you think you're going? Oh! Level 3. Sit down. Where do you think you're going?
So he just, like I mentioned, he always has this like swagger to him that just totally makes the opponent look a little silly. Dancing in Problem X's face before going for the shimmy. Drive rush cancel to the overhead there to take the first game. And then moving on later on in the second game, look at the way he closes out this round.
Big life lead here for Ending. Loads of plus frames.
The delay parry and the more. Oh! Blood seed, bruv!
The awareness.
Yeah.
This was so freaking satisfying to watch. EndingWalker, he ends up putting himself in burnout by overextending his offense here a little bit, but he doesn't care because he has that level 3 and he's so aware. So when he does this string here, even though he puts himself in burnout, he's so ready to do a string canceled into DP into level 3 to break through the armor of the DI and to punish for a kill. It's almost like he's setting up a bait for the DI. Just such good awareness and no fear, and like the pacing he's playing at, which puts him up 2-0 over Problem X in the winner's side. And of course, with that level of momentum, he ends up taking it over Problem X. Look at the way he empty jumps into EXDP there. No fear out of the corner. No fear again. Wake up throw to punish the hop through. Gets the conversion, pushes him to the corner, and then eventually finds the final touch to confirm into the level 3 to close it out over Problem X. Taking it once again in the regional finals. EndingWalker, this time with a lot of Ryu going to Capcom Cup, and we officially have a Ryu representative in Capcom Cup. But a lot of people were wondering, come Capcom Cup time, is he really going to use Ryu at all with $1 million on the line? Well, this is what EndingWalker had to say. Ryu is good. Ryu is not bad. Ryu is not broken. Ryu is not why I lose. Ryu is why I win. Ryu is fun. Smiley face. I look forward to representing him as much as I can at Capcom Cup. Make no mistake. So, pragmatic words there. As much as I can, that's open to interpretation. It's obviously going to depend on the matchup. His DJ is extremely sharp, so he will probably be using DJ for some matchups. But I expect the Ryu to come out. He really believes in this character, and he believes that he has a strong chance to win with this character over other very popular picks. He mentions that he thinks that Ryu does good against Ken and Luke, and Ken and Luke, once again, are the two most represented characters in Capcom Cup, so there's a high chance we see some Ryu action. I don't think we're going to have any further qualifiers using Ryu. I think EndingWalker is the sole representative, and that, with that said, the young prodigy is the one to bring back traditional footsies and Ryu Street Fighter to the Capcom Cup. And that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Ryu, EndingWalker, this whole run. And I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.